Food.
Let's dance! Hey, DJ.
Leave the candy.
Yo! Hey! Yo! Hey! Yeah! No slap!
Watch out. Finish. Love it. If I must. Get out. Acceptable. Behold. Adjust. My specialty. Why not? Let's fly. Erase X. Knock them down.
Okay!
Blend.
Yo! Real cool!
Playtime. Escape.
Womp womp.
Feed.
It is on!
Roll. Keep up. Protect.
Come on!
Watch. Right.
It is on.
Remove.
Watch out.
Watch. Find the drink.
Come on.
Lead. Why not? Yeah, this time. Juice. Don't spill.
Behold. More difficulty.
Adjust.
My specialty.
Finish.
Right on.
Leave the candy.
Yo. 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 Yeah. Feel the heat. Game time.
Get out.
Fly time. Go, baby, go.
Escape.
Womp womp.
Roll.
Okay.
Feed.
Yo. Yo.
Why not? Cover it.
Behold.
Adjust.
Watch out.
Earring C and V.
You like that? Right on. Heat up.
Watch.
Apple bird drink.
Find the bird. Protect.
Fly time.
Light.
Fun.
If I must. Remove.
Come on. Now we're talking. Yo. Yo.
Womp womp.
Dodge.
It is on.
Keep it up.
My specialty. Okay.
Leave the candy.
Go. Hi. Go. Solid. Playtime. Go, ready, go.
Womp womp.
Knock them down. Why not? Feed.
It is on.
Roll.
Come on.
Erase S and X.
Hey. Yo. Hey. Yeah. I like it.
If I must. Peel.
Game time.
Attacked. Remove. Need.
Right on.
Watch. Find the bird.
Womp womp.
It's risky, this.
Juice. Don't spill.
Okay. Move to the beat.
Adjust.
Womp womp.
Serve.
It is on.
Dodge.
Watch out.
Keep it up.
Womp womp. 64.